Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to give you a little perspective from Colorado. My name is Rob Martindale. I'm a professional land surveyor here in Colorado. I also manage our utility program out of Denver. My job is to oversee 5 regional areas in our state and establish mapping and policy and procedure for utility data capture, collection, also process on one call, and trying to help our construction projects as well as our permitting team throughout the state. So today I'm going to just real high level kind of go through what Colorado's been working on, some of the legislation just briefly that's helped us throughout our process, but just the current world of one call ticketing and some of the challenges, and then some of the technology that we're leveraging to help us be more of a proactive state than a reactive state. We've been pretty reactive when it comes to trying to catch up on what's in our right of way with utilities, what's going on with locating and things like that. So feel free to jump in at any time and ask questions, or if you want to wait to the end, fine. I only have a few slides here, so let me work through them. I think there's probably 15 or 16. I'll try to get through them quickly because I know we don't have a ton of time. But the current state damage prevention in Colorado is probably similar to what you guys experience, I would think. But right now we have to enter an email or call the one call center or 811 in Colorado for all construction projects. All excavation has to have a one call ticket. And then as far as the utility companies and providing their best locational information when it comes to staking, we've had challenges with some of that, and I think some of our challenges, not only on the locating side for like members of the one call system, the utility companies, but with their locating vendors that work for the utility companies, responding quickly or responding at all is a challenge. Maybe communication between multiple vendors for 5 or 6 different utility companies. They may have 5 or 6 different vendors locating, and communicating that to our contractors has been a bit of a challenge for us, keeping our contractors aware that USIC stakes for telecom companies and maybe Stake Center stakes for Xcel Energy or whatever it might be. And so we found that our contractors struggle a little bit with keeping track of who's supposed to be clearing the positive response on these tickets for construction. And then, of course, some of the locators and the vendors out there, we see a lot of lack of training. We see a lot of lack of consistent methodology or accuracy standards throughout the locating industry here in Colorado. And so that's always a challenge when you rely on the paint on the ground and it's maybe not reliable. Of course, we're still seeing a high degree of strikes in Colorado, and Jeff, you probably recognize these numbers because a lot of them come from you, but I don't know if this particular number in the United States is still hovering around 500,000 strikes a year, but it's a lot. It's too many to be functioning well. But some of it is because of agencies like CDOT allowing utilities in our rights of way without proper documentation on where they put them, how they installed them, things like that. So part of CDOT's efforts, which I'll talk about in detail a little bit more later, is trying to resolve some of that. Also, we see a lot of poor records, a lot of really bad records that are in the system or hard, legible. They're hard to figure out, and so a lot of the locators that are relying on these records, I think they struggle a little bit with even trying to understand what the utility owner has in the project area or in the one call area to actually try to find and locate. And so that's definitely a major sticking point that we've found throughout throughout our investigation with, research and whatnot. Here's another example of just an as-built record that we've seen. And, it's not to poke fun at anybody, but it's just to show that there are better ways today than maybe in the past to document utility installations. So in Colorado in 2018, there was a bill that went through, became Colorado state statute under which has been on the books for a long time, our Colorado Revised Statute 9-1.5, which was our excavation requirements statute. So there was a modification to that statute that did a couple of things that are pretty unique. And what the modifications were to the statute included some new subsurface utility engineering requirements for pre-construction. So the One Call Center became the clearinghouse now for engineering tickets. And, engineering tickets historically in Colorado had been a challenge to achieve locates on the ground for engineering requests prior to the legislation. So when we would call in an engineering request, likely it would never happen when it came to locating for that reason. So now there's actual subsurface utility notification that's required by state statute. So engineer of record for a CDOT project, for example, would enter the one call ticket for engineering. There's a 10 business day requirement to reply by the utility company to that ticket with their best available records for our engineering purposes. And a lot of times it's for our subsurface utility engineering vendors or providers that are working on our projects to then, take those records and work towards developing a stamped plan set depicting these utilities at their achieved quality levels based on a standard set forth by the American Society of Civil Engineers, the ASCE group. They have a standard that's under section 38-02 right now, and then there's a new version that's coming out in 21. That'll be 3821 that just defines the quality levels and how to achieve those and definitions and things like that. So the whole idea here is with this revision to the statute is that agencies like CDOT will go through this effort in the engineering, pre-construction development of plans to provide the best available information to contractors so that when they receive our plans for construction and they're ready to bid on these, they have a better understanding of what the risk assessment is on the utility side, what they're up against when it comes to excavation around these utilities. And so depicting the quality levels gives an idea to everyone involved that a higher quality level means you have a better reliability or a better chance of finding that utility. There's a higher confidence in that location horizontally with a quality level B location. And then quality level A, of course, is what we've called potholing, or what the standard calls test holing. So a test hole is a point specific location where you've actually daylighted or you've achieved seeing the utility. And then in the standard 38 standard, that's called locating, because you're actually locating the facility as you see it when you actually uncover it and achieve the third piece of that puzzle, which is the vertical confirmation of the utility. So all that's wrapped up into our utility plans and then provided to the contractors for bidding and then for information as they approach their construction project. Now, the one call law, we call it, but that front end was all the pre-construction. The stuff that didn't change was the excavation notice. That all stayed the same. It's still 2 business days, not including the day of notice, and that didn't change. And the requirements for the buffer, no excavation buffer, is still the same. Some of the other things, though, that did help in our one call law is that all new underground facilities must be electronically locatable as of January 1st, 2020. So we're going on almost a year where all new utilities in the ground going in must be electronically locatable. And then that includes laterals and everything else. So anything, everything. So and then the one call becomes a true one call center where we used to have two-tiered system. We had a tier 2 members and a tier 1 set of members. With tier 2, it was on the excavator to contact them directly at the tier 2 level for locates. Where tier 1 members, of course, were funneled through the one call center, and everything was tracked to the tier 1. So it was decided through the law that there would be no more tier 2. Everybody become a tier 1, and everybody is required to be tier 1 members by the 1st January 2021 this year. So everybody will be a tier 1 member. The last couple of years, it's been a voluntary system to migrate from tier 2 to tier 1, but again, mandatory here in a month or a couple months. And then the creation of an Underground Damage Prevention Safety Commission was also a big change for Colorado. We didn't have really any sort of teeth in our one call law to hold utility companies or agencies or whatever accountable for lack of performance or whatever's going on. And so how our Damage Prevention Safety Commission works, it's made up of 15 commissioners appointed by our governor. There's different sectors that are represented, telecom, the gas and pipeline industry, transportation. So CDOT has a place there. Colorado 811 has a commissioner, and so on and so forth. And their responsibility as commissioners is to meet monthly as a full commission, establish bylaws, codes of conduct, procedures, and regulations. So if there's a portion of the law that's too gray and it needs definition or it needs refined, then they have the ability and the power to do so and establish some regulations or rules. And then hearing complaints, they started hearing complaints as of last year. So they were enacted January 1st of, actually it was January 1st of 2019 was their first official workshop. So they've been almost at it 2 years, and established best practices. Their committee and advise. So they hear these complaints monthly. They're registered as voluntary complaints through an email system. There's a form, electronic form that's filled out. Just recently, I had a contractor on a CDOT project that had locates were not completed properly, and they struck a gas line and a power line. And so subsequently, the contractor has registered a complaint against the locating company and the utility company. And so I went through the process of helping our contractor with the forms and submitting them so that they'll be on the next hearing. So, but the best practices has come through with SUE. They have a SUE best practices out. They have a locatable, what locatable means, best practices out, and they're revising it to include survey positions along with tracer wire, marker balls, things like that. So what is CDOT up to with our technology? And we're trying to move into a more proactive utility database that will allow us to quality control, quality assurance some of the data that we're seeing from one call tickets, from our SUE vendors, just records in general. And so we recognize that there's a lot of different utility record databases out there. And we really struggled to find a database that would accept all this different utility information, not only from the field, but from from these legacy systems like GIS and CAD, mostly for our purposes. But then any new SUE data collected in the field, we could funnel that through our database and then move it through to our CAD system was also one of the workflows we were looking at. But then under the construction side, with new one-call locates, new installations, as-builting relocations, and planning for future projects, we were trying to grab a central location to pull all that in, and then also have the ability to share that with end users or stakeholders that have a stake in the game with us, and that's the utility companies in our right-of-way. It's like, well, if we have a good set of records that are better than what you have in your system, why not share that with the utility companies so that everybody is working with the best and most accurate information. So our two products that we use, Transparent Earth and Pointman, they're paired together. They're an off-the-shelf cloud-based system that leverages utility locating tools along with the mobile app, Pointman, the GPS receivers from Trimble and others. But mostly what's important about this is they're high accuracy GPS receivers. They're survey grade accuracy RTK type receivers, which I'll point this out in a minute why that's important. But and then to have a cloud-based environment that's shared up with multiple types of end users, including contractors and internal CDOT construction management, third-party inspectors, and really flexibility for everybody, anyone and everyone to work in this environment. So Pointman is our mobile app, again, designed to enable field personnel to capture precise asset location using the mobile device and a tablet. And then again, it's designed to pair up with the popular electromagnetic locating equipment. So there's quite a few that pair up with it now. And then again with GNSS antennas. And so Transparent Earth is our traditional GIS database. So what you guys would think of a traditional GIS database, that's what Transparent Earth is, but it has a little bit more Google Earth functionality built into it than other GIS environments that you'd see. So there's Google Street View in here, there's Google Maps, there's Google Directions. So if you have a pipeline you're trying to send one of your inspectors to, you can actually send them through the mobile app. You can actually have them navigate to it with Google Directions right in the map or app. So again, when it comes to CDOT's accuracy requirements, we have a whole specification on permitting accuracies, also as-built accuracies. So our utility companies are aware of the new standards that require them to as-built their new utilities at a centimeter accuracy, and that's or 2 centimeters or so accuracy, both horizontally and vertically. So when you look at what's on the screen, these are just screenshots of the mobile app, Pointman, and you'll see that there's a pedigree record here that is built into the software that we really like this system because of the records we do get on the survey side of things. So what this is telling me with this water line, and this was one of our subsurface utility engineering providers, had gone out, hooked up to this water line, was using a Metrotech VLOC 3 Pro locator along with the Pointman app, and they were using an RTK antenna. Not sure which one they were using, but it tells me that it was survey fixed right there. And then the accuracies horizontally, they were down to 0.05 of a foot, and then vertically they were even a little bit lower. But what's interesting is that when they were tracing this out, they were coupled with the GPS antenna, the locator, and the app, and then you can see where they receive the depth, frequencies, and information out of the locator to help verify this record. But then this Sioux company was able to establish the quality level as found for our database. So this is an important record that we can refer back to, that in July of 2020, that this water line at this depth with this equipment is a good solid location on that particular water line for future reference. Same with this other example. This is a storm drain cross culvert that we were able to survey the flow lines in and out and just the accuracies that we received. But we do have the ability to establish a true elevation on those, not just, and that's based on some of the technology that's built in there. So our elevations are relatable back to our CDOT as-built plans from our legacy plans. So that helps us too. So this is a quick example of how we leverage those good records or the good information that we receive on as-built, whether it's even a tracer wire location as far as staking it back out horizontally and the approximate depth or elevation that is calculated off that depth. This example, this little storm drain line that was installed, you can see that was surveyed in earlier this month. We have a stakeout functionality that allows us to start the stakeout process, and it'll navigate us to the utility location based on that record. As we get closer to the utility, it will start to give us the cut, the fill, how far to go east and south to achieve the location of that utility. And this is an example of, it's buried further back, but right here, before we covered it up, we did shoot it. We were able to navigate back to it. You can see that the accuracies that we were receiving with that GPS antenna were really low, and that we were staking it out to this set of accuracies here. So in theory, if that was covered up, we would probably see a fill of something, whatever the depth of cover is. Maybe it's 3 feet, 4 feet. But horizontally, we should see zeros. And in theory, if we test hole that, we should be right over the top of that utility for future reference. And so this is one of the big reasons why we feel that the records that we're trying to achieve and the standards that we're implementing for as-built in our right-of-way is so very important for retraceability of utilities and confidence that we know where these things are at. So one of the other big integrations that we took on was the integration with the one-call ticketing system into our mobile app. And so we have an API, which is an interface between the Pointman mobile app cloud side of it and the One Call Center's database that's publishing these tickets live to the database. The One Call Center, as soon as they're updated, then they migrate into our mobile app as a layer. So we have a layer in here that's streaming these tickets in. And so geospatially, if we're within a project in this green area, this boundary, if we click on it, it will pull up the One Call ticket information for this geospatial location. And so maybe there's 4 tickets in this area, maybe there's just 1, but we can then open a custom form that's built into our mobile app that then auto-populates all the ticket information out of the One Call Center's database into our mobile device. And so now we have a form that allows us to track the One Call ticket advancement. How is it going? Is it ready for excavation, or are we still waiting for positive response? With 3-4 utility companies, did we get everybody? So we have our contractors and some of their utility coordinators or sometimes it's their safety officers are managing these tickets this way. And what they'll do is they'll manage them, they'll document it, they'll make sure that any data that's in the database looks like it, if something's showing up that's not in the database, then they are able to question it or add it to the system. Or if there's something that's not on the ground that says it's cleared, but it shows that there's a gas line out here, but it's not marked, then we can put the brakes on and say, well, let's wait and figure out, what's going on, talk to the locator, talk to the utility company, let's figure out the discrepancy. And so I had a report from my project staff on one of our large projects in Denver the last couple of weeks, that they felt like with this management process, they've avoided around 100 strikes on one of our large projects in Colorado by managing it this way, by saying, let's put the brakes on until we figure out, there's data here that supports something is not right. And so So again, it really helps us if we have a really robust database, and not just two-dimensional, but three-dimensional as we move into what's next. And what's next is all this augmented reality, three-dimensional modeling, and not just for the design side, but for construction as well. And so then you look at how some of the site vision from Trimble works with augmented reality, and how that will be our next step with Pointman, is to have this integration in our mobile app so that the data that's housed in here and verified through our records can quickly and easily be migrated into this environment, to where you could, because the technology for collecting all this information in Pointman is the same technology that's used to display the three-dimensional augmented reality and Trimble site vision. And then furthermore, there's even more futuristic stuff where you get into excavation guidance and buffer zones, and giving excavators the opportunity with this data to leverage it for alerts or notifications of, hey, your bucket's within a foot or something of a utility, so be aware of that. And so I think for the purposes of technology, this is where we're headed. But again, it starts with very, very highly accurate three-dimensional information, and without the technology that we have leveraging now, I just don't see all these other cool things making it into damage prevention world for us. So with that, I'll take any questions, and hopefully there's a few.
Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, sorry. So Rob, Barb here. I just wanted to say that avoiding 100 strikes on a major project is really breakthrough results. And so one of the questions I have with that is, how far along are you in getting your right-of-ways mapped? Are you at the beginning, or there's so much legacy work to do? How will you go about this?
So our right-of-way GIS file is complete. So we have a complete GIS map of our state rights-of-way that we have in our Pointman mobile app. It's one of the layers that allows us to kind of see where the limits are, and we provide that to utility companies to show them what the expectation is for where they cross into our right-of-way and where they exit our right-of-way.
And how long did that take to get that to be complete?
That was about a 3-year effort. Yeah.
3 years. Okay.
It took us a while, but we really did recognize that in order to manage all of our assets, not just the utility side, but others, that we really needed to know at least approximately where our rights of way, our limits are at.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Rob, it's Jeff Zeiss.
Yeah, Jeff.
You mentioned that new infrastructure that goes in the ground has to go in with survey accuracy, and there has to be a stamped document. Also with subsurface utility engineering prior to pre-construction, also has to be a stamped document. When the one call folks call up a utility and they come out and locate, is that they have to paint the ground, but is that information, that locate information, does that go into Pointman? Is that required that information go into Pointman? And if it isn't, are some of the utility network operators and telecoms, are they starting to do that? So that this is one way of addressing the quality of the stuff that's already in the ground. You're addressing the stuff that's going in new, but capturing accurate location for the stuff that's already in the ground. Is that part of the future? Capturing the response. How the locates that respond to one calls.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the facility owners they're starting to see that because we're requiring the as-built side. We're also requiring through a permit any pre-construction development of their plans. Like if a utility company is developing a plan for permit, and they have to pothole, or they have to test hole, and they have to provide existing utility condition, we're asking that data to come in as well into our database as part of the submittal. So we're actually asking for that on the permit side. And then we're sharing that back with the utility companies, because a lot of their vendors that are developing like plan and profiles for new utility installations, they're starting to see that there is an advantage of capturing the one call marks for that. And then also they're also capturing them when construction is happening. It hasn't been mandated that way, but it's at least on our construction projects, it is mandated that way. But for facility owners, I think they're starting to catch on that there's a big opportunity to capture data through the one call marks that are going out in the field. And the more times we capture that data and we start to eliminate the anomalies in, the problems in those markings, that, we start to find better records. CDOT spends more money on SUE, and the records start to get better and better. But I think it's a really good point. I think every opportunity we can to leverage capturing this utility data is going to be beneficial for all of us.
I have one other question. You mentioned currently it's mandated for SUE that it has to comply with 3802. When do you expect that mandate will be extended to 3820?
The last report I received from the committee chair, which was a week ago, he is addressing, he's waiting to get all the comments back. And once those are addressed, they'll be able to go ahead and adopt that. And he said that it would likely move into the first quarter of 21, where it's at right now.
Okay. And that 3820 actually specifies precision. I mean, it says within a certain distance, right?
Yes, 3820 or 3821. Yes, yeah. It does.
Oh, it's 3821 now, is it?
Yeah, it's moving out. So it does specify that. And then I didn't mention the as-built standard that's also kind of on the heels of the new 3821, which is also being developed through the American Society of Civil Engineer, which you know of, Jeff, is that recording and exchanging utility infrastructure data, which is a standardized process for capturing utility as-builts. And so 3821 is the depiction of the existing utility condition, and then the new standard for recording information, utility information, is going to be the construction as-built standard, which talks about precision and accuracy of collection, and then the attribute information that needs to be captured through the recording of that information. So there's kind of two things working for us, and CDOT has adopted the language out of both, even though they haven't officially been published yet. We've had pirated copies that we've pulled a lot of the standard information out and rolled it into our construction specifications, our permitting requirements. And so we feel like we're in really good shape when it comes to these new standards coming out next year, that we can then just move into, we've already adopted them. So we're hoping to be ahead of the game.
Rob, this is Damon. I'm not familiar with all the standard lingo, but did you have something that you said that has those metrics for the accuracy of digital as building?
Yes.
What was that? If I wanted to Google and look at it, what was it called?
So there's a white paper out there. If you Google recording and exchanging utility infrastructure data, you'll see, again, that's recording and exchanging utility infrastructure data. you'll see a white paper that was developed by the committee. There was two committees, the Construction Institute and the Utility Mapping and Survey Institute, that developed the standards for this recording and exchanging utility infrastructure data standard through ASCE. So yeah, look, there's a pretty good white paper that describes what that is about, and I think it's going to be a well-received document for guidance on how to capture this data, and not only from the requirements from CDOT to implement, but maybe even to adopt for utility companies themselves on how to collect the information and store it as a standard.
Yeah, Rob, Barb here again. Have you talked to the state of Minnesota, MnDOT, about your project? And then second is, what have you learned along the way to help us get started to really make some breakthrough progress on this?
Yeah, I guess, and I'm not 100% clear on what your goal is. I think I mean, I've looked at. It looks like you're working on a mapping type of initiative for your system, but and yes, I've worked with some of the MnDOT representatives. I'd have to go back and look at those that I've corresponded with on a national level over the last couple of years, but yeah, I believe they are aware of it just based on some of the conferences I've attended with them and some of the committees from the national level that I work on. But is there a specific goal that you guys are looking to achieve on your side?
Well, I think one of the things you said was you reduced the 100 hits in that one project. So it's really reducing hits. But also improving locate efficiency and effectiveness as well. But for me personally, and with the committee, it's how do we make a breakthrough in damages? We've been stagnant for the last several years, basically as a country and as Minnesota in damages. So with better information and the shared information, hopefully we can put a dent in that data.
Yeah, I think that's the key is. Better information, share the information, and get it into the hands of everybody that has a stake in the damage prevention process, and so standardizing and having a central place for every one of those end users to pull this data together is really, I think, probably the biggest achievements is having everybody putting this information into one location, but then being able to disseminate it out to others or to the same people. But just, I mean, if I can put this mobile app in my project engineer's hands and the contractor's hands and the safety officer for the contractor and the locator, and everybody is looking at good digital records, then, we're going to have, I really think, having the ability to show up with a set of CDOT utility plans and having excavation locates painted on the ground and having a one-to-one where you're seeing exactly what the existing condition is versus the excavation, all those paint marks line up. That's my goal, is to have a database where everybody has a comprehensive map and record of facilities, especially in our right-of-way. And there's no more guesswork. That's a heavy goal for us, but it's really taking the guesswork out of everybody's job, and then having the ability to go back to those locations over and over and over again with certainty that you will find them. And that's one of our goals with the accuracy. It's paramount that we have the accuracy, and it's almost, well, I would say it's pretty close to the same amount of effort as it is to collect any other type of record. It's just having the right equipment and the training of the technicians to use the locators paired with the mobile app and the GPS accuracy correction service. So but with Trimble as a partner, it's really the correction service is making surveying much easier, because it's as easy as just logging into the mobile app and then you're on a survey network. that the correction is basically doing all that for you, whether it's satellite-based or cellular-based correction. So just the ease of use, I think, is a huge piece to implementation.
Hey, Rob. This is Travis with Subsurface Solutions. One of the representatives, the radio detection locator that you're showing in some of those slides and stuff. I'm out of Nebraska, but I've been doing GPS mapping and such with the radio detection with the Trimble units as well since 96, I think. And I had some questions. I've been involved with ProStar, Pointman, the development of that. I know those guys really well and helped guide them kind of the direction they want to go that way as well. But some of the slides that you were showing there, so the transparent earth, okay, so you're talking about Pointman, but Pointman is the handheld application and doesn't work normally with transparent earth. So you're obviously using transparent earth as a way to now actually owns the license for transparent earth since because it is an enterprise system and it's a very expensive GIS system. And I kind of understand why you want transparent earth versus Esri, but my big guess is the fact that ProStar is out of Grand Junction. But does the DOT own the license and then they share it with whatever users want to come in, or is it just just information for the DOT, or what are you actually doing there?
No, that's a great question. So yeah, we purchased Transparent Earth so that we'd have the permission control over the licensing. You know, we have a bundle of licenses through our enterprise subscription system with ProStar, but we provide the access to the mobile app for free to all users. So they just have to sign up so that we can keep track of who's using the system. Right now we have around 200 users in our system that are comprised of SUE vendors, third-party inspectors, prime contractor, prime utility contractors and their subs. But we allow them, you know, certain level of permission access through Transparent Earth so that they have the ability to work in Pointman. But what we like, and the reason we have Transparent Earth, is that whenever they're collecting data in Pointman and they're logged into our CDOT network, the data is streamed directly into our Transparent Earth environment. So there's less manual uploading. There's less headaches for CDOT as far as seeing the data from the field to the dashboard. So we are able to see it in real time in most cases from the field. So if we do have a utility company that's out working, we can get that data collected rather quickly. We can use the database to sort our permit information, because utility companies are not allowed to have another permit until they've cleared the previous permit. So as far as built data, so we have to have an efficient way to clear those.
The user licenses for the Pointman are held by you or the DOT, and you're issuing them out to excavators that are working for the DOT and people locating in the DOT area, or who actually can be a user, since Pointman is actually, it's over $500 a year normally. You're just allowed to give them free licenses, or who's actually flipping the bill for that?
Yeah, so we have a bundle of licenses that basically allow people to check them in and check them out. So we just, as long as they sign up, they have we have a email that's set up just specific to request Pointman credentials. So we monitor that, and any new permittee requests a login and password. It's issued with certain level of permissions, and then they're allowed to basically check out a license, use it, and then check it back in. And so that allows us the flexibility to just let those users use those licenses for the benefit of CDOT, really. So. Okay,
and on the metadata, the accuracy ratings and such, you showed an R10 there, and you're showing a catalyst system there too. But the uncertainty levels. I don't know how you ended up settling on different accuracy and vertical accuracy and uncertainty levels. Because the Trimble has a hard time pushing a lot of that out. Are you specifically usable, or they use an arrow or anything else? And on top of that, you talked about the quality level found. I'm really interested in that. So, does that mean when they're doing the work and they're daylighting or hydrovacuuming or exposing the utility, there's maybe a layer within the app that they can verify that they found it at this depth and it is at this location? Can you expand on that some?
So your first question was around the metadata for the receivers?
Yeah, the metadata for the receiver. I saw the accuracy, you got an accuracy number there, 0.0346 foot. I know offhand that, the R10 doesn't just spit that out. So I'm wondering where that's coming from, if that's a calculation that's being derived within the software Pointman. And a lot of that, those accuracies numbers, they're very, I don't know. There's nobody can really explain to me where those numbers are coming from, other than most of the time it's from a metadata sentence coming straight out of the GPS receiver. But Trimble doesn't quite do that. I've never been able to find a way. So anyway, I don't put a lot of credence in the accuracy numbers. That's why I'm more interested in the quality level found data that you're collecting when you expose something to verify that those readings are correct.
Yeah, so Trimble does stream this. It's just they lock it down to most users, but because Trimble and ProStar entered into a partnership, and through their SDK, they have unlocked this for ProStar to capture the Trimble precision. So if you look at a Trimble data collector, like a TSC3 or one of their survey grade data collectors, this information is streamed into the survey record all the way through into a normal survey grade data collector. And so this level of information with other stuff is coming through, and ProStar has the ability to capture all this different metadata that is coming out of the software that's being broadcast by the R10. In this case up here, it was an R8. And so any of the old R8 3s and older GPS equipment is now has the ability to capture the horizontal or the HDOP, the dilution of precision, which is a mathematical calculation. So as this goes up, the accuracies also get worse. So
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of aware of all that, but I mean, I've worked with ProStar on this stuff, and then we have our own app that works just like ProStar too, but it does some extra stuff on top of it. But when you bring it in, so I understand what you're saying. So you basically have an alliance with Trimble for them to go ahead and allow that extra license to spit out that information, since it's not over the counter able to acquire it. We're just wondering how to, we have a lot of customers out there, and we do sell some of the Trimble equipment as well, and they just get frustrated because they have to pay extra just to get a GPS sentence, an accuracy sentence out of a Trimble unit, which they don't have to get with an Arrow or a Leica or any other brand that's out there. But obviously you have some it's kind of included in probably your overall enterprise system or something, or from the Trimble dealer. Is that what you're saying?
No, this is built into the. I don't know how long it's been since you've used Pointman, but the new Pointman version that's out here recently, this is all included in it, including geoid corrections, which gives us our elevation corrections. So the geoid elevations and other projections and things that are included, along with all the string information from the locator, which you're familiar with, but from the Trimble units and other GPS units like EOS or the Blue Star and MLIDs and others. And so they're capturing it from other antennas. It's just, there's only a certain number that they're supporting right now. And a lot of them are Trimble right now because of the partnership. The Trimble partnership has opened up a lot of this. And this was pushed a lot by CDOT, because we have a whole fleet of Trimble survey equipment that we couldn't use, and it was really difficult for us to to move to this platform if we couldn't grab our millions of dollars worth of Trimble equipment across the state and use it to.
Yeah, that's what I come across too, is that everybody's got Trimble equipment, and they want to use it, and they get paid a lot for it. You might as well use it, but then they're frustrated because they can't get those accuracy numbers without going back to the Trimble guy, and they have to unlock it, do a download, and basically open it up. Even though it's there, they just don't allow it. But I was just curious on what kind of, how you were getting, if you had to go that extra step or what. But I'm more curious on the quality level as found. So do you have a layer in there so when the excavator or whoever's digging out there, they can pinpoint, when they're hydrovacing, they can say, okay, yes, we have found it on the map. It is in the place where it's supposed to be, or what are they doing when they're out there excavating?
So when they're out excavating with this level of information, as far as the quality level B information.
Yeah, you said something about the verification after they daylighted it, after they have exposed it, and they can go back and on the map and say, yes, the map is correct. It is at this depth and it's at this location somewhere.
Yeah. So where this is helpful for the excavators is if they have a new storm drain line crossing through here, they know that they have to dig across this water line. They can call in the one call ticket. They can manage the one call ticket through the mobile app, but they can also stake this out to the position where it intersects with the new storm drain line and this water line. And they know with a high degree of accuracy what the elevation is based on the depth. And I haven't scrolled down to show you, but they can then daylight that and verify all this information rather quickly by like I said, going in to this record and then just clicking on the water line, for this case, just staking it back out, and then moving over to it. Once they've established where they're at, they could then, hydrovac that. And also if we get a locate for excavation and it's 4 or 5 feet off, maybe it's a bleed off or something from the locator. But we know that the record was collected as found as a quality level B, and it was surveyed in with an RTK unit, and it was used Metrotech, locator or radio detection or whatever to establish it. There's a good argument there that our position is probably better than the excavation locate, and we need to figure out, by daylighting it, we can say, look, that blue paint that's over there 10 feet away, this water line's actually over here where we've uncovered it, because we know it's right. So
I think that's a great idea. I just wondering about the excavators and the quality of if they're actually having problems with RTK getting it hooked in, or that's the part that I really like. I like the verification. Hey, yes, it is right here and it's a positive result, so instead of just going off locator.
What a lot of excavators have gone to, and some are doing this on their own, some were requiring it from the agency side, but we're supporting it with construction management staff that are utility specific inspectors. So they're actually managing the stakeout of this information, assisting the contractors in coordination efforts and as-builting and locating and all this good stuff. So there is that some contractors find that it's better to bring in a small team to support this on larger utility projects. And the project that I mentioned that had 100 strikes avoided, that's what they have. It's a large project, but they have a team running around with this technology trying to keep a live SU file going. So they're constantly updating what's relocated, what's been abandoned, what's still been what's been removed, what sections have been removed. They have 14,000 potholes that they've collected and as-built, and they're just, they're keeping it all layered out. And when locators show up and the tickets, and so it's big projects. If you're set up correctly, it works really well. We're finding that it works really well. And so, the verification is a huge piece that we rely on for
Super. Hey, thanks, Rob. That's awesome. Thanks for the presentation.
Hey, Rob, Keith Novy here, and I'm represent a utility company. Any legal hurdles you guys you guys had to overcome about sharing of utility data, you know, with multiple entities, and I guess you've kind of built that in somebody's got to sign into a license and stuff. But are there any legal hurdles you guys have been able to overcome as far as sharing data and kind of opening it up to different groups?
Well, it's a great question. It's a common question that we get. So there's a couple things at play. The legal hurdles, a lot of it's spelled out by our permits, you know, as far as the requirements to share that information with the agency. That doesn't mean we turn around and share it with everybody else. So, for example, if you're a telecom and you're providing us the data, another telecom, we can lock them out of seeing your layers. And so we have the ability to get down to really specific permissions and only allow certain people to see certain things. But so far, we haven't really had any challenges to the information we're gathering. We've had some discussion around them. We've had some attorneys that have come forward, and we've had some meetings with our attorneys and them, and so far it's all been resolved without any sort of problems, really, to speak of.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Rob, I think your presentation was absolutely phenomenal, and I think the degree to which you've had questions here, I think, is indicative of the excellent effort going on in Colorado to, if you will, you know, answer many of the questions that we're trying to deal with here. So I thank you very, very much for agreeing and coming and presenting today. And to the degree that we've got follow-on questions, I'm sure you're willing to participate in discussions further. So,
yeah, absolutely. So again, I've been trying to share the message and then try to capture what others are doing, you know, and so I appreciate any feedback and any and all. And then if any other questions or any other ideas you want to float past me, you know, feel free. I'm always happy to listen and participate.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rob. Just tremendous.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so with that, Rob, we're going to move on to reports from our various subgroups. And to the degree you want to hang around, by all means. We'll see you later. Thanks again.
I appreciate it. Yes, thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.